than ever.
Well, thank you. Thank you, all of you. Really thoughtful testimony that's going to help us to get through the next few months into a new administration and really remember what's grounding us in these cases. I guess I'll start with you, Ms. Cooley. You talk about the bipartisan coalitions and what interesting bedfellows they are. As I noted as well, they have starkly different worldviews on a lot of things, but they're standing up for competitive markets in their states. Can you talk about how cases brought with bipartisan coalitions of state attorneys general help to improve antitrust enforcement actions? Certainly it helps us on the legislative front here, and certainly it helps when the cases are filed, but just talk about a little bit from your perspective, because it's the attorney generals that have kept doing the pushing of this while administrations change. That has been a constant for a very long time. Talk about that.
Yes, sure. So bipartisanship is so important. I mean, it helps us plead stronger cases. We make sure that when we are establishing the legal foundations for the case, we have fewer outrageous claims, fewer claims that are less palatable to a broad variety of attorneys general. It's things you wouldn't think about, like witnesses. Certainly, if you are bringing a case in, for example, Connecticut, you want to make sure that you have people who would understand what it's like to be on the jury in Connecticut, right? So you want to make sure that you've got good bipartisan and broad support there. Settlements, honestly, having states that are not going to just go along to get along because they want to support their sister states of the same party and are happy to stick it to them, it's great.
Okay.
It makes
Good. Thank you. We've just had Senator Blumenthal arrive. We're very excited about that. I mentioned him when he wasn't here. So anyway, I'm going to get through my question.
About trying cases in Connecticut.
Yes, this was mentioned as well. So I'm going to finish up my time and go to Senator Lee, then we'll go to Senator Blumenthal. So Professor Newman, one of the bipartisan reforms that we mentioned, addressed, was the bill I had with Senator Grassley, the Merger Filing Fees Modernization Act. From your time at the FTC, can you tell us a bit about how resource constraints affect enforcement decisions, how additional resources can make a difference, actually bring money in?
Yes, absolutely. And first, if I could, I'd like to thank you for your work on that. It was a shot in the arm for a couple of agencies that had been, underfunded, I think, relative to the overall growth of the U.S. economy for a fair amount of time. Let me say at the outset that the agencies do an amazing job with what they are given, but they can only do so much. And so when you see something like a spike in merger activity, the agencies go into triage mode. They have to. You would be neglecting your duties if you didn't review all those mergers. So the workload can skyrocket, as it did in 2020, 2021. If the agencies aren't effectively funded, those people reviewing those mergers are going to have to come from somewhere. And when they start looking around and see these big tech cases, I think that could be an attractive place for them to start moving people away to just try to deal with all these mergers. So the structure of the bill, I think, makes a lot of sense to me as a former enforcer, that it would increase fees as merger filings go up. All that being said, I think at the end of the day, these cases are big, they're hard. The agencies do a lot with what they're given, but I'm not sure they're there yet.
Right. Well, they are outmatched all the time, and the companies know that. So, but they valiantly moved ahead. And I think part of this bipartisan support matters because they know they have people on their side, the agencies do, that stand up for them. So thank you. Professor Alford, last, the Trump administration challenged two mergers in the health insurance market: Anthem's acquisition of Cigna and Aetna's acquisition of Humana. The Biden administration has continued to prevent consolidation in healthcare markets, including the recent DOJ suit to block UnitedHealth's acquisition of a home healthcare provider. Why is it so important to continue strong enforcement in health markets?
So, as I said in my written testimony, health markets are one of the most important areas in which consumers are impacted in terms of cost. The cost of healthcare the United States is dramatically higher than it is in almost every other country, and it is a huge percentage of the budget of the average American. The lack of competition that happens in the healthcare industry is, quite frankly, remarkable. In addition to the comments that you made, there's also the recent litigation against PBMs. That's a huge additional area of significant concern. And I think there's a general sense that the healthcare markets are broken in terms of the way competition functions, and this kind of litigation is essential for the markets to be corrected.
Thank you. It's Senator Lee and I held a hearing this fall that focused a lot on healthcare consolidation. So thanks for that answer, Senator Lee.